Welcome back, Wolfpack Nation, for part 2 of our NIL discussion with Reid Johnson, who is now the board president of One Pack NIL. In the first episode, we kind of just talked about how we came about to the new collective, if you will, and just kind of the ins and outs of today's NIL world. But in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit more. Got some fan questions, so I guess we'll jump in right there to the fan questions, and we probably can spawn off on some things. One of our fan questions was, why aren't, and I know this is a little bit different because these kids are still college athletes, and but the question is why aren't there NIL dollars not advertised but announced? Like, if you get Bob Smith that comes in, he's a tight end, he's going to make X amount of NIL dollars. Why don't they disclose those dollars to the public?
Yeah, I think it's funny you say this. There's a saying that Coach Dorn says all the time, and it's comparison is the thief of all joy. And I think in life that's so true, that people generally want to compare themselves to others, and then they may say, "Oh, well, I'm better than them. Why don't I make more?" When it this is something a lot of people are lost on. NIL is about name, image, and likeness. Being the best player doesn't demand the top dollar. Being the most marketable player demands the best dollar. And so one of the reasons, and all of our athletes are under NDAs, not to share with other people. For that reason, it's never going to get posted out into the open. I think there's a competitive side too. I think colleges don't want people to know what it takes to get somebody away from them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for
because
sure.
If there was a salary cap like a typical NFL team, then there's only so far you can go for certain athletes, right?
Right.
Well, name, image, and likeness isn't about that. It's about how marketable that person is. And so that's why you don't see it posted, because other schools probably then look to pick guys off and generate deals big enough to beat the other one. And so it's one of the things we talk about often with other collectives is, hey, what kind of deals are you seeing for this? What are you seeing for that? Are they doing TV? Are they doing radio? Are they doing, social? How are you generating that? And I think the collectives do a pretty good job of sharing some basics, which I think frustrates some guys too, because they think their value may be higher, but then they find out that it's really not.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answered the question.
No, for sure. And honestly, I kind of already knew that answer in my head, but, someone asked it and we wanted to throw it out, and, because people do want to know these things. And so you kind of were talking about that a little bit. All right. So you were just talking about the marketability. How does one go assessing someone's NIL value? Because you see some websites out there, or some social media sites, and we won't name them, but you see, so-and-so is in the portal, their value is $175,000 or $500,000 or some crazy figure. How does One Pack assess someone's NIL value?
First, I hate the stuff that's out there.
Yeah.
Because agents want to start with that, and then it's just not real. I mean, it's a proprietary value that somebody comes up with based on social media followers, blah, blah, blah. So like anything, the real value of something is, what is somebody willing to pay? So for instance, we will reach out to local business owners and folks like that and say, hey, so-and-so is interested in doing this. There's a good opportunity for them to be here. Is that somebody that you're interested in representing your brand? Right. So I think that ultimately that's the number one way. And I think you'd be surprised. There's a lot of companies that are like, hey, I may not want him to be part of an advertising campaign because we're worried it might alienate part of our customer base.
Sure.
Right.
Like Michael Jordan said, right? Thing. Republicans and Democrats both buy shoes, so you don't want to. Absolutely. Yep. I hate to use that reference, but it's so true.
No, it's so true. And so sometimes even I've been shocked. A diehard State fan may have a business, but they're smart enough to realize they could alienate part of their customer base. So then it turns into, hey, but I would be interested in paying X if they can come to my company picnic. Could they come and speak to my managers? Um, it's just engagements like that a lot of folks are really interested in. What you saw with Brian Burns with the pickle company, right? They did it right. They had both a Carolina player and a state player, right?
Yep.
And so I think that again, like Republicans and Democrats both buy pickles.
Yep.
And so it was that same mindset. So there's not an exact science.
Yep.
What I will say, hands down, athletes from North Carolina will carry a heavier NIL value than somebody transferring in from Wyoming.
Right.
And it's simply because people know who they are. It doesn't matter if you're an All-American in Wyoming or not. People here don't know you, right? And so it's all about who knows you, who wants your name, image, and likeness to be associated with.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So another fan question we had was, do you see a scenario, and we kind of talked about this a little bit on the high level on episode 1. Do you see a scenario where potentially these players unionize?
First, I think they'd have to be employees of something to do that.
Right. I would say that would be step 1. So,
Yeah,
but okay. So here's the first question. Do you see that happening anytime soon?
Gosh, I don't know. I'd hate to speculate.
Sure.
I think ultimately that's where it ends up. If you were to say, Reid, I'm going to drop your kid off a mountainside if you don't give me an answer, I'm going to say, yeah, it probably becomes part of the school, and then which it could be unionized, which then brings into what should be a salary cap. And I think we're in a better position with that than we are anywhere else, because then it's really back to coaching, right? So I would applaud that and hope it gets there. Again, is it knowing it's a short-term mindset as a steward, that we'd love to see that.
Right. And we talked about it being a bridge, right? Because what we see in year 3.5, like I mentioned earlier, is not what we're going to see in year 6, year 10. This thing is going to continue to evolve, and it has to, because if not, I don't think it's sustainable. Like we said earlier with the model, you're going to get donor fatigue really quick. So
and you're already seeing some of that.
I think you are. Yeah. I definitely think you are. Okay, so we talked about the good. So let's talk a little bit about the bad of NIL. We kind of just saw that last week with Florida State, and I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that. And for anyone that doesn't know out there, Florida State just got hammered. I don't know if you I don't think they got hammered, but they definitely got their wrist slapped pretty hard. They had some NIL dealings with I believe it was a coach that drove a prospective student athlete to an NIL meeting, and then so anyway, the coach got show cause. They got he can't recruit off campus. I think they got a reduction in scholarships. So on and so forth. And to my knowledge, I think this is the first major NCAA infraction that's been handed down. Is that a true, or penalty? Is that a true statement?
So far.
Yeah.
So far, that's the first. I think that I've heard some speculation that there's another 6 to 8 things kind of that haven't been announced yet with other schools.
Oh, with other schools.
I think,
okay.
Yeah. So I think you probably see some more of that starting to come around as that stuff begins to be investigated.
So with that being said, I guess what kind of checks, or what kind of checks do you guys put in place to make sure that that NC State doesn't kind of fall in that hole? Because we kind of were coming out of something with basketball from a few years ago, and obviously we don't want to put ourselves in a peculiar situation, or I said earlier, a pickle.
A pickle, yeah. I think the number one thing is having such a great relationship with compliance in athletics, and saying, hey guys, is this okay? Yeah. I know there's a lot of fans that would rather not ask for permission, would rather ask for forgiveness, but that's not a direction we're going. And at times it can be frustrating, because there's ideas that we have that we really want to do, that we think really generate, good dollars towards the collective. But, it's, hey, we need to hear back from compliance first, right? And so, again, compliance has NC State and NC State fans' best intentions in mind, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
To keep people out of trouble. And so, what I tell people is, hey, look, like, understand that you may feel like there's a bunch of red tape, but this is the right thing to do. And so the old mindset of what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, that's what you have to take. So a good example is, we have a partnership this spring for Savage Wolves vodka to go into ABC stores. Okay, the
All right, sign
official
me up.
tailgating vodka for NC State.
Love it.
And the mindset there is it's recurring revenue that continues to happen, but we can't have any athlete endorse it, right?
Right.
The collective can put out messaging on it, but athletes can't. And so that's a thing right now that's in with compliance. Hey, are you guys on board with this? Right?
Yeah.
Because some people could look at that as gray. What the way that we're looking at it is, even if an athlete's over 21, we're still not going to have any athlete endorse it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there sure are a lot of guys in the NFL that can endorse it, right? That are former state players. So I think that's the mindset of where you need to work with compliance and continue to bring ideas to them and let them say yes or no, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think that's a good example. We do not want to be Florida State. We do not want to end up like that. I think it's as simple as also having our own office that's off campus. So players have to come to us, right?
Nice. Yeah.
So that we can never have anybody saying, oh, well, they were there when so-and-so was there. Well, no, they come to us. So I think you just have to be really smart and honest and do your absolute best to make sure you're above board and that nobody can accuse you of something that you can't back up as being, nefarious.
Right. That's the big thing is you want to stay above board. All right. So you mentioned this Savage Wolves vodka. Are there any other kind of creative things that we can maybe look forward to seeing coming here in the near future? Because I will say there was one thing, whether it's intentional or intentional, the way that we've drawn up money, like whether it was the final score of the Carolina game, you saw a lot of influx money on that. And I think that was just, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was just a homegrown thing. I don't think that was an official Savage Wolves thing, right? So
no, it was just this is what people are I wish they could see behind the scenes and realize that this is the year of professionalization, because last year was me, Tom, and Steve. Hey, what do you think about this idea? Well, hell yeah, let's do it, right? Like in some of those campaigns. So I think a lot of it's a lot more further thinking. So right now I'm working on a coffee with a major roaster that does some. I've got an NDA, so I'm trying to think for people to think.
Just we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. That's fine.
Very large coffee roaster.
Okay.
And we have an opportunity to market Savage Wolf coffee. A lot of people drink coffee.
Absolutely.
In welcome boxes, a bag of coffee might show up. We hope you like it.
Yeah, there you go.
You want to support. Because when you look at things like that, and you can put $5 per bag back into the collective, that's the type of stuff that this year's about. It's about we're going to have to ask for money this year from donors. We're going to flat out have to. You guys saw that red light. Well, it doesn't run for free. It's got someone's got
to pay the bulb, right?
Yep. Somebody's got to pay the power bill. So we're absolutely going to be asking people to partake in that. But what we're trying to do is reduce that donor fatigue so that next year we have self-sustaining revenue streams coming. We're working on what I call tailgate in a can. And it's mixed drinks in a can, so that you can have margaritas, rum and Coke. Obviously not Coke because you can't partner with Coke in that, but those same drinks in a can. Right now, we're looking for somebody to do a beer with, and I think there are opportunities to also put these into the stadium. So that people can buy those products and know when they buy those, they're going back to the collective. So
I think that's one thing that you guys really do a really good job with is giving people bang for their buck, to kind of like lessen that donor fatigue. Like you said, whether it's a tour of the Murphy Center, potential raffles with sideline passes, going to watch a practice in person. Like, I feel like people are more willing to give if they get something back. And I think that's a great strategy. And I've seen things people post for ideas. Is there ways to like people can reach out to say, hey, I've got this maybe idea for a campaign and I'd like to pitch it to you guys. Do you guys like, is there a good way to like, I know Twitter's probably pretty easy with the Savage Wolves. They can probably tweet it to you guys or DM, but what if folks, if they have ideas for things?
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flightland's Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout Eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time wearing and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
Sure. The easiest one is to go to the One Pack NIL .com, and there's a contact us.
Okay.
And drop us a note because we all get it, so we all see it. There's quite a bit on message boards, where folks are putting out ideas. Hey, and some of those ideas are the ones we're running because they're
awesome.
just great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I don't think will ever change, and I want people to know this, the One Pack NIL, Savage Wolves is a club within that supports football.
Yeah, that's a real important point to that too.
We are a working man's NIL. I say it every day. What we don't want to do is go to the same guys every day and wear them out. The Working Man's Collective is all about having opportunity for guys that can give $5 to get the same kind of experiences that a guy can give 500,000. Mm-hmm. And that's a part where the real sustainability is being a working man's collective. It's where everybody puts in $5 and we have a giant pool that we can work with. I think that will continue to be the focus, that grassroots. And Steve Williams really does that part for us. And Steve is so he's been doing NC State stuff for 25 years.
Yeah.
And he gets it, man. And he fights for everybody, little guy, big guy. And I think that's one of the things that we love is that you can't create a revolution if you alienate people. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Everyone has to feel like that they are part of it. Right. And the only way that you get anywhere is everyone has to be rowing in the same direction. And if you get, a couple of bad eggs or sour grapes, to be like, blah, 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 and that can ruin the whole experience for everybody. So I think, I think everything you guys are doing, you're doing it the right way. And I honestly, I've not heard one negative thing about either the collectives or the One Collective now. And I think that says something.
I've gotten some emails that are pretty negative. But I think sometimes it's just negative people that they don't ever see anything great in life.
Well, it's an NC State fan base, right? Don't we always have those?
It's it's fans.
We hate our coach when he loses. We hate our coach when he wins. I don't get it. But all right. So maybe one or two more before we get you out of here. We talked about what are some things that you would like to see other than obviously more money, but from the fan base? We kind of talked about it, and we talked about them not being aware. And so I just want to kind of just take a minute or two and just talk about the messaging, because I just, you mentioned, I'll use the story you talked offline. It's you had somebody reach out and said, well, when were you going to reach out to me? Like the Wolfpack Club. And that's the one thing, the Wolfpack Club doesn't sell people's information to you guys, and it's not available to you guys. So you kind of talked about this as a working man's collective, and this has to be at the grassroots. But what are some things that fans can do? Because here's the thing, we talked about it too, is not everyone has $500,000 to give, right? And you don't have to give money. You can, send a tweet out. You can, like you said, at a family picnic, mention it. You can, send a tweet, whatever it is. Just kind of talk to me. What can we do as fans to help grow the One Pack NIL family?
Well, first and foremost, is tell people about it. Right.
Yeah.
So, and when you tell people about it and they don't know what NIL is, they're going to ask questions. Right. So I think the most simplistic pitch is 3 years ago, it became legal for college athletes to be paid for their name, image, and likeness, which means that they can be paid advertising dollars from the community that goes to a collective, and the collective sets up the deal so those guys can have those opportunities. And it's your easiest course to winning from the standpoint of athletes want to get paid. So if you have a collective that makes promises and follows through with them, you really have something. There's a lot of schools that make a lot of promises. And maybe that's part of the reason some guys came back to Raleigh, because they saw a successful collective and a successful team. Really the thing that we want this year is we want 2,400 members. That's our goal. 2024, we want 2,400 members. And so
I saw something. You guys are at 5% now. Last time I saw, I know you guys post your updates. Is that still Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone up some because we've had some people sign up. I think that went out 2 days ago, so
Okay.
yesterday and today. But the goal with 2,400 members is to reduce that donor fatigue. There are some guys that have done some really heavy lifting, and we can't rely on them year after year, and that's where the whole fan base has to get involved. So 2,400 members, hands down, is the goal this year. But it's going to take everybody talking to someone. And I hate to say it, tell your buddy, like, hey, dude, give $25 a month. Like, if you like me and your friends, just do it.
Yeah. I say, look, $25, that's like 3 lattes, right? Like just make your own home coffee. I've seen, and I've been preaching this for a while, and I saw you guys, someone, I think, from either One Pack or Savage mentioned it. I always said, if someone gives everyone at a football game gives $10 every game, that's like a million. It's like, I think you get like $5 million. I think if everyone gives like
500,000 a game.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was 500,000, and then like roughly $5 million for the season. Well, almost $4 million.
Almost $4 million,
depending if we have 4 or 6 or 7 home games. But and so that doesn't take much, right? And so even if you just set that aside at some point and said, hey, look, I'm going to give $10. That's $70. Like it's not a lot, And so I think that's the one misunderstanding is like I have to give like $1,000, and that's just not the case. And I feel like you guys are the same as the Wolfpack Club. They'll take 15, they'll take 50, they'll take 500, they'll take whatever you can get, because to your point, it does take a village.
We would take a nickel if as long as it helps us reach our goal, right?
Yeah,
because we understand that there's some people it's just that tight. And the idea of even giving $25 a month is hard. So we did put a $10 option a month on for that specific reason. And part of it was because we were seeing those $10 donations. And so there is a need for that.
Yeah.
As far as what people can do to help beyond talking about it and telling people about it, is we've got some caravans we're going to be working on throughout the rest of the year. And we need hosts for those. So if you live in Charlotte, Wilmington, Asheville, or Hickory, hit us up on the onepacknil.com. and tell us that you're interested in hosting and or helping put that together. Because coaches want to go out and meet fans, and they want to hear from them. And we do too. We want to see our members. That's one of the things I think people don't understand is, like, we have our best time when we go do stuff. The event at Tobacco Road a couple of weeks ago was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it looked good.
We had an event. Coach showed up. Like, it was just an absolute blast. And what we're finding is these are now the Savage guys are now the guys we tailgate with. We have crazy text exchange with some of the funniest stuff about our lives on there.
I've heard a few. I know one of your guys, and we'll talk off air about him.
Okay. It's probably the same one that said, don't screw it up tonight when you talk to Greg.
It probably is.
But I mean, we're becoming friends with these guys. I mean, it's kind of a community, and that's what we want this to continue to be. And it's a working man's collective. We don't want stuffy. Like, if you want to be stuffy and talk about how great you are,
we ain't
got interest in you. Yeah.
Yeah. Go about 20 miles west. Yeah.
Yeah. You can go do that. If you want to have a good time and you want to meet real people who are just passionate about sports and love their team, then we're the collective for you.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to give you one last pitch to the person that's on the fence about donating. So I'm going to give you your, you can call it your 10-second elevator pitch or your Shark Tank pitch, whatever you want to call it. But the floor is yours to close us out.
Sure. I wish I had one. First, I just want to thank people. What people have done to help us, and not just monetarily, but the time people have spent to help us with the ideation and helping pull off some of these events. Has been fantastic. The guys at Pack of Wolves the board members at Pack of Wolves that kind of helped usher this in, guys like Brent Chesson and Joe Seagraves, Zeb, those are guys that were really passionate about NC State. And if it weren't for those guys, we wouldn't be here today. And so really, I want to thank guys like that for doing what they do and for pouring into NC State. And I want to thank Ben Broussard at Wolfpack Club, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
At the football event, Dave said it best. You've got a hard ass job. And as we're out fundraising, I'm realizing how hard it is. And for you to do that is, a professionalized career. Ben, you've done great work and you've done a great thing. And, we look forward to working with the Wolfpack Club and how can we coexist. And so I want to make sure people don't think this is an us versus them, because it's just not. This is about the university, and this is about being a good steward of what we can for the time period we can. And that's all there is to it. It's that simple.
Yeah. Well, Reid, I really appreciate you taking time and just kind of laying it all out there on the table for both myself and our fans of our channel, and then just Wolfpack Nation in general. I know this is a real important topic that we have to get it right, and we have to figure out how to sustain this, and just because it's for the benefit of the university and for everyone involved at NC State, whether you're a fan or an athlete. And so I really appreciate it, man.
Yep. No worries. Thank you for having me. And, bring on the questions, man. I'm all for it.
Yeah. So real quick, so we can plug, again, there's, the One Pack NIL, they're out on social media everywhere. You got the website, onepacknil.com. There you go. If you got questions, reach out to them there. I don't think any question is stupid. I don't think anything, it's a learning process for all of us, and friends and family point people there because we need every dollar we can get in order to compete. Again, Reid, thank you so much. Wolfpack Nation, again, we appreciate you. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Again, as always, like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Make sure you're following us on all of our social medias when we got great content like this interview with Reid coming out. So, again, Wolfpack Nation, we'll talk to you soon. And as always, go Pack.
Go Pack.